Hi, and welcome back. Before diving into different types of triggers in Google Tag Manager and specific about each one, I'd like you to do something first. I'll need you to open the Google Tag Manager preview mode. So inside Google Tag Manager, click Preview, then add your website URL, press Connect. Once you land on your website, I will need you to wait for like a few moments, 5 seconds. Also, scroll to the end of the website. And lastly, click on any product. Let's go back to the preview mode. Click Continue, and then minimize this one. This is for the new page that was opened, this one. We will need to minimize it so we can be at the previous page, which is the home page, the very first page that we opened. And let's check something out. So you'll see that there is a scroll depth event. This is because we have scrolled to the end of the website. And you can see that it has fired when we have reached the 50% threshold. There is a timer trigger as well. And there is the last click that we have done on the website. As mentioned before, I'd like you to think of this as your activity log. Anything that you perform in the preview mode, you will come here and see it got reflected. There are 4 types of triggers in Google Tag Manager. Let's go back to the GTM container and hit Triggers, New, and check them out. The first one is the page view triggers. These are all page view triggers. Most of them will work whenever you visit any page. And if you check the preview mode here, you will see that the window loaded have fired and the DOM ready trigger was also fired because we have visited a page and these will fire on pages automatically. The second one is click. The click event fires automatically whenever there is a click that was done by the user. So if you remember, we have done the last click on this page, which is the home page, that directed us to the collection page. And this is why we were able to see it firing in the GTM preview mode. Now we have the user engagement. This is one of the funnest activities that you can, or triggers that you can use in Google Tag Manager because they are self-explained. So for example, the scroll depth trigger, you can configure it to fire when the user scroll through any page for a specific percentage, let's say 50%, 70, 100%, you name it, you're in control when using that trigger. Last one, and one of the importance triggers as well, are the others, in particular the custom event. This is the only one that we will be focusing on. I don't think that you will work with these at the beginning of your career, or even if you're advanced, you will rarely use these ones. So let's just focus on the custom event triggers. So the custom events are actually pretty straightforward as well. We can always define them to fire when a specific data layer event exists. So let's actually make the first example for the custom event. While we have the preview mode open, let's go to any product page and add the product to the shopping cart. Using the data layer Chrome extension, we can see Elevar is pushing the DL add to cart data layer event, which fires whenever the user adds a specific product to the shopping cart. We can easily trigger an event to fire when this data layer event exists. Similarly, if we go back to the preview mode, we can see on this page, the one that we are currently visiting, where we have performed the to cart event, we can see that the data layer event exists on this section. And under the, or beside the event parameter, we have the DL to cart as well. This is the value that we will be using for the custom event. And this is also the data layer event name. Whenever you have data layer event that you want to use as a trigger for any other event, all what you need to do is just see what is the event name. The word event refers to event name. Copy the value that is beside it. Go back to Google Tag Manager, click on the custom event type, and then in the event name, paste the value that we have just copied, which is the DL add to cart. We will need to be careful to not to change anything for the naming convention for the data layer event or to add an additional space or anything. We need to paste it as is. We need to use the same data layer event name that we have in the data layer and paste it over here. You can also copy this directly using the data layer Chrome extension by choosing the flat version, and then you would see the key and then the value. In this scenario, we would need to copy the value because that's a trigger, not a variable. Go back to the Google Tag Manager and name the trigger. So let's name it event because this is a data layer event. And again, you can name this whatever you'd like. This will not affect anything. This is how you organize your work and preview your work. Let's hit save. But how can we make sure that this trigger is working as intended? Simply, let's assign it to one of the tags that we have created in the previous video. Go to tags and click on the GA4 add to cart. As you can see, this tag does not have a trigger associated to it. Click on the triggering, and then you can see trigger that we have created. Choose it and hit save. You can also see under the firing trigger status, now we have this trigger, and this is the same one that we have created. To make sure that this is working as expected, we will need to click on the preview button again, because what this will do, it will sync the new updates that we have just done within the workspace that we are previewing. If we didn't do that and simply went to the same window that was opened and performed specific action, it wouldn't be tested out. We need to make sure to click on the preview button whenever we do new changes to our workspace. Now let's go to any product page, add a product to the cart, go back to the preview mode and hit the DL add to cart. This is the data layer event that we have created the trigger based on, and you'll find that the tag have fired. And I've just actually realized that I'm previewing another GTM container that have similar work that I have just done. So you can ignore these other tags that have not fired. And this is actually a good example to show you that GTM will show you each like data layer event or each trigger, which tag have fired and which tag have not fired. If you clicked on this tab, which the one that we are currently previewing, it will show you all the tags that have fired. And if there is any tag that did not fire, it will also list it down for you over here. If you clicked on the summary tab, it will go through the entire session and show you all the tags that have fired. And if there is any tags that have not fired, it will also list it down in here. Now to our example, let's click on the data layer event. And as we can see, the tag have fired since we have defined this in Google Tag Manager. And when we click in this tag, we can see some information. So for this tag, the J4 measurement ID is this ID. This is the measurement ID that we have inserted a while ago when we created the tag. And the event name is add to cart. And check this out, there is a parameter called item price, and the parameter value is DLV add to cart price, which is the variable and the parameter that we have created a while back. If we had the values like toggle over here, what will happen is that the parameter value will change to reflect the actual value that is stored in the variable that we have configured. So if we go back, we can see that it reflects the actual product price. That means that the variable is working as expected. Also, when you go back to the preview mode and hit the variables section, you can see that the variable over here that we have created is returning the same thing, meaning that our variable is also working as intended. The trigger that we have created is working as expected. That's why we see the tag firing, and we also see the value of the variable flowing inside of it. The next trigger would be the click trigger, and actually it would be the last trigger to explain as the other ones are easier to understand. So let's assume the following. We have Elevar, and Elevar is pushing the data layer events. For example, whenever someone adds a product to the shopping cart, we would get the data layer event for add to cart. And based on that, we can use it as a trigger for the add to cart events. But what if whenever we click on the add to cart button, we don't have a data layer event. There is no Elevar. We don't have anything to help us trigger the events. Here comes the click event use case. Let's go back to the preview mode and see the DL add to cart data layer event. We need to click on the click event that happens directly before it, because this is when we have clicked on the element itself, on the button that adds the product to the cart. Go back to the Google Tag Manager preview mode, hit new, and then select all elements, select some clicks. Because if we have left that click element set to all clicks, what it will do, it will trigger that trigger on any click. But in our case, we want this to be as a trigger that is used or triggered when someone clicks the add to cart button. So let's select some clicks. Here we can use several variables as conditions for this trigger to work. For us, we can name it click element matches CSS selector, and then we will need to have a value over here. So normally you will need to have an HTML and CSS knowledge to get that value, but we can actually know what is the CSS selector in very simple way. So right click on the button that you'd like to track and hit inspect. It will open this panel for you. This is called the developer panel. It might open from the right-hand side of the screen for your case, but either ways, make sure that you are in the elements panel over here. And then notice like when you scroll to each line, it will highlight a different section of the page. But we're interested in this line because this is where we inspect it. And we're interested in this class term. Within it, I want you to copy this part and ignore anything that happens after the spacing. So let's copy this, use Command F or Control F here, and hit dot and then paste. This is how we can capture the element so we can create the click trigger. Let's then climb a little bit over here and get the product form. You can think of this as the elements tree. We will climb up bit by bit until we hit the top of the tree. Then we will copy this product form. We will take the whole thing since there is no space needs that and paste it at the beginning and then hit space. And as you can see, we have now a trigger that we can use in Google Tag Manager. So let's copy what we have in here, go to Google Tag Manager and paste this. Make sure that there is no any additional spacing. Name it anything that you'd like ATC test, for example. I'm using this naming convention because I have many triggers that uses the same way. So I'm adding the word test just for the use case of this example. Hit save, go to tags, and then let's select the tag that we have created, or actually let's select this one. Remove this. Look for the one that we have just created and hit save. Preview it. And now let's add this to the cart and see if this works. So here is the add to cart event that fires from the data layer. And now this is the other event that has the test trigger that we have created. And we can see that this also is working properly. If you are following along, I'm sure that you have created your Elevar dashboard by now. So you can simply install the Elevar Chrome extension and use it to track custom events without the need of going through the hassle that we have just done. As when you click the trigger using the extension, it will be imported to your Google Tag Manager container and you can use it as you'd like. This is also covered in next videos.